Hello and welcome to the Family Law Update for the academic year 2022 to 2023. A reminder, if you're watching this on YouTube, you can get access to the full Family Law course with a whole variety of topics included on my Gumroad page, and there is a link to that in the description to this video. But for now, let's get on with the updates for family law for the forthcoming year. It's certainly not as busy as last year, but there's still a number of stories that are worth covering, so let's get started. So speaking of last year, I think that the first thing we need to say is that there were a number of significant divorce law changes that came into force in April 2022. And these really changed the way that we talk about divorce, but also the whole process through which a divorce takes place. Now, I've updated the information on Gumroad, and if you want to find more, then you can certainly look there. But it's all about divorce and dissolution, and make sure to use the video Divorce and Dissolution 2022 update, where you can find more about that. Moving on, and probably the most important statutory change to family law this year comes from the Marriage and Civil Partnership Minimum Age Act 2022. Now, despite that being a 2022 act, it is only due to come into force on the 27th of February 2023. And basically what it does is it raises the age of marriage to 18 in all circumstances. And the aim behind this piece of legislation is to combat a rise in forced marriages. So the hope would be that once people are 18, they're able to make their own decisions. Whereas previously, if you were 16 and you had the consent of your parents, then you would be able to get married. But obviously, in certain cases, parents were forcing their children to get married instead, and that was not a desirable outcome. Hence the change in the law, which I think most people agree is a positive change. There are a number of other stories from the courts as well that are worth covering. So in Jennings and HFEA, which is a 2022 case, a widower was allowed to have a baby using a surrogate mother and an embryo created with his late wife. Now previously it might have been more difficult for him to get permission in those circumstances because obviously his wife had passed away and was no longer able to give her active consent. However, the court in this case ruled that it was possible for the husband to use the embryo that he had created with his dead wife. A number of articles in The Observer also highlighted an issue about so-called experts and their roles in parental alienation cases. In the case that I've listed there, F&M number 3 from 2022, originally what had happened in that case is they were saying that a psychological expert had said that the mother had alienated the father in the case, and so the father was granted custody of the children. Now the problem was that the so-called expert in that case wasn't an expert at all and wasn't a registered psychologist, which is what she claimed to be. So in this later case, F&M 3 from 2022, the judge went against that, and so since then there's been sort of more restrictions on who can and cannot give evidence in these types of cases. In the European Court of Human Rights, there was also an interesting case where a gay couple had a baby and it was through the use of a surrogate mother. Now, the law in the UK basically says that where a mother gives birth to a child, that is the person who is listed on the birth certificate, and then the husband of the surrogate mother is automatically named as the father. Now, the aim in this case was that the gay couple obviously wanted their parentage to be related on the birth certificate itself, and there was an attempt to change the law, and this went to the European Court of Human Rights, but the application to have that case heard was actually rejected because it didn't really affect the rights of the couple in that case. Meanwhile, there's other general points that I think are worth bringing up, and these are the sorts of things that if you are a student thinking about doing family law or you're embarking on a family law module this year, the family law justice system continues to struggle with cuts to legal aid, and there's a number of news stories about that. Obviously, the most famous one is sort of like talking about the strike by the Criminal Bar Association and the strikes going on with that. But the family law justice system struggles just as much mainly as a result of the LASPO Act from 2012, which made significant cuts to legal aid in that area and just makes it more difficult for people who are in vulnerable situations to actually achieve any sense of justice. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. And there's also been calls for greater openness in the family courts. You'll often see, in fact we've seen it in these cases that I've highlighted in this video, that we're often using sort of like initials instead of children's names to protect their anonymity. And obviously things like that are a good thing, because we don't want children's lives being affected by court cases that they are maybe not able to consent to being a part of. On the other hand, this does create certain problems, and there has been calls for some degree of openness in the family law justice system, just so that improvements can be made. It makes it easier for people to do research, and it makes it a bit better for reforms as well. So definitely an interesting debate around that, and again, something that you may want to mention in an essay. Well, thank you very much for watching this family law update for the academic year 2022 to 23. If you are doing a family law module this year, then all the very best of luck. And a quick reminder that if you would like to find out more about my course on Gumroad, which covers the entire range of topics that would come up on a family law module, then definitely check out the link in the description to this video. Otherwise, I'll be back with more videos in the near future, but for now, bye!